programs.
Welcome back to Wake Up and Live with the Arts. I'm Gary Webster. Again, our thanks to Lon Jordan for joining us on tonight's show. And now we have two very special guests and a very special co-host, Karen Shepard. Welcome.
Thank you.
And now we have
here.
the privilege of interviewing a couple of local playwrights who have very special stories to tell. We have with us Denise Richmond-Kelley and Rose Dukes. Ladies, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And Denise, why don't we start with you? You both have interesting stories to tell, to say the least, and if I understand the biographical information that we have here, they are personal stories as well, both of you, is that right? Personal stories.
Yes, correct.
Denise, tell us first about your experience and how it led to your play.
Okay. Well, I was diagnosed in 2007 with breast cancer. I was working, having a great time in my life, and really enjoying what I was doing. My children had just gone, I had one daughter who had just gone off to college, and I was looking forward to the next one. And so I thought, okay, I'm getting ready to start living all over again. And I woke up one morning and I found a lump. And I went to a doctor, and I saw a doctor, and he told me it wasn't what I was thinking. And he said, come back and see him in 6 months. Well, when I got back in 7 months, I didn't go to him. I decided I wanted to go to a different doctor. And it was indeed breast cancer. I was told over the phone, and that part was okay. That didn't really bother me as it may have bothered other people. But because I was working, and I really was kind of trying to ignore it. It's almost as if I knew it was coming my way, but I was, not going to be rattled by it. And then I was told by my doctor that I had to come in and go into surgery right away. And that's when it hit me that this was something really big and very life-changing in my life. So that was in October, and in November I was on the surgery table having surgery, and immediately went to treatment after that, chemo. And I was actually cured 8 months later. And my mother had, I think I was in a state of depression. And my mother had suggested that I go to a place called The Gathering Place. And she had given me a brochure, and I remember pretty much throwing it in the garbage can and saying, I don't need this, I don't need a support group. I'm the type of person that takes charge of support groups. I led a couple, I don't need this. So it took me 3 months to get there, and it's a wonderful place to go, and it was actually a start of a new beginning for me. It was a place to go where they helped me with my healing process. And so I've been going there ever since for the last 4 years. And about 2 years ago, there was a workshop. And again, my mother suggested you should go, and you're going to go there and write your thoughts down about your experience. And again, I said, not going. I'm not going there. I'm not ready to put this down on paper. I'm not ready to talk about it. And so I kind of refused to go. And then she kept after me, and so I contacted someone by email there. And she said, well, it's full. And I said, great, it's full. I don't have to go now. And then about 5 days later, she sent me an email and said, there's an opening. And I went, and I met Bridget Wimberly there, who's a New York playwright, and other women were there, and that started the process of us beginning to write our story and turning it into a play.
And we'll get into that. Being a playwright myself, I'm always interested in knowing what other playwrights' processes happen to be. And now, Rose, tell us your story.
Yes, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. I was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2000. And I had done the self-breast exams once a month. And when you're doing this, you really don't know what you're looking for. You feel all kind of little lumps, and you really don't know what that lump should feel like. And I was getting ready. My youngest daughter was going to get married, and she wanted to get married in Jamaica. So we were planning for her wedding and getting everything all set up, who we were going to invite, the guests and the reception and everything that we were going to do there. And I went to have my regular exam, and my doctor, she's the one that discovered the lump. She was examining my breast, and she felt the lump, and she says, well, what is this? And I said, I don't know, what do you feel? She says, here, feel this. And I felt something real hard, and I says, well, I've been doing self-breast exams. I don't remember feeling that. So she says, well, we're going to have a mammogram and do a biopsy and see what comes up. So I went and had the mammogram. They did the biopsy. And for 2 weeks, I didn't hear anything. And I'm thinking, well, I haven't heard anything. If it was something real bad, I'd hear right away. It was probably just calcium cyst, because I'd had those before. Well, in 2 weeks, I got the call, and I was at home one evening, and this is, Rose, you have breast cancer. That lump was cancerous. It was just devastating. It just like knocked the wind out of me. You go into just a slump. I didn't know what to do, what to say, just sit there. So I sat and got myself composed, calmed down, and they told me that I would have to come in and see a doctor the next week. They made an appointment. I went in to see my doctor, and I met with the team. I had a surgeon, oncologist, radiologist. My daughter and my brother went, because I'd called him after I got myself calmed and told him what was going on in my kids. So he wanted to go in for the consultation, so we went in, and the doctor explained everything, what they was going to do. It was stage 2 breast cancer. That's all she knew. She could not tell me anything else until they went in. And I had a lumpectomy. And after they met with this team, we went, and I think it was like 2 weeks she would be able to do the surgery. Can I wait that long? She says, yes, it's not aggressive. So we'll meet with these other doctors that'll be on the team. They did a trial where they would inject the dye. The dye would light up lymph nodes that they thought might be cancers. And this is all that they would take out. Normally they take out a pad, and she says they don't examine all of them that's on the pad, but if the dye lights up any of them, those are the ones that they will cut to dissect to see if they were cancers. So 2 weeks, had the surgery, stayed overnight, came home, and there was some exercises I had to do, and I come home with this tube that, it's a fluid that, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a fluid that you have to measure, and you have to do this exercise, which is called climbing the walls. Once you have lymph nodes removed, you have to do this exercise to keep the fluids from going down into your lower part of your arm. And I was home about 2 weeks, and then I was going to have radiation. I went back to work. After the 2 weeks, I was fine. The surgery was successful. Cancer hadn't spread at any place else. So I went back to work, and then for the next 6 weeks, I had to get radiation. Now, within that time, just at the end of the 6 weeks was the time for me to go to my daughter's wedding. So I was able to get released just in time to fly to Jamaica for her wedding. But I had to keep myself covered from the sun as best I can because I'd had so much radiation from the cancer surgery. And then I had it again in 2005 after I went through that 5-year. You're seeing your doctors, the radiologist, surgeon, your primary care doctor, and your oncologist for 5 years. After 2005, I'm thinking I'm clear, I'm done. And I go to have my mammogram again, they see a spot. And this is in 2005. But it was just so tiny. I think it was like stage 0. When they did the biopsy, most of it was removed. But because I had had it the first time, I had to go through that whole radiation process, another 5 years of taking the medication, seeing the doctors.
And then out of those two traumatic experiences, these plays came about to allow you to share them with other people. And Denise, I think you alluded to it when you told us your story originally. How did you happen to decide that you wanted to share your story with other people in this way? Did you have a writing background? Was that something you were familiar with?
Well, it's really interesting because I have a theater background, and I've done many years of acting in the theater in many different types of productions. I had even gotten a chance to do some commercials and some print work.
Great.
But I had never written a play. And so I didn't know how this was going to become a play. And it was a very gentle experience. We met every Saturday for a number of months. And Bridget would talk to us about, you know, we would start with writing samples and we would read them. We read, there are 11 of us, and we read each and every one, so we actually got a chance to hear everybody's story.
That's important.
But for me, Bridget, you know, we took notes, and, you know, she talked to us about making this a play, and then she said, now go home and get to writing. So for me, I sat down and I began to type at the computer, and everything that was in me just began to pour out onto the paper. So I actually wrote my piece in 3 writings, and I'm not, whenever I write, like in college when I would write papers, I'm not a big editing person. I don't like to go back and change what I've already put down. And I don't mean grammatical things, I mean the concept. So what came out in those 3 sit-downs became my play.
Sounds like it was very cathartic for you.
Yeah, it was very healing. I was very excited because I have a good friend who is a playwright, and I called him up and I said, look, I'm writing a play. I used to do his plays. I would always, he would always ask me to perform in his plays, and I always had great ideas because I have a degree in marketing, so I'm an idea person. And I was always giving him ideas. You should write this and you should write that. And he would say, write your own play, you know.
So you finally did.
I did, and I called him and I said, it's happening, I'm writing my own play. So it was pretty exciting for me.
And Rosa, what inspired you to use that particular manner to share your story?
Well, I was retired, and I was starting to find something to do so that I didn't have to sit around the house. And I knew about the gathering place, so I said, well, I'll go up here and see what's going on at the gathering place. And I started going up there with the cooking shows, and then they sent the letter home talking about the playwriting and your journey for breast cancer. So I thought, okay, that'll be interesting, because the first time I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I didn't want to talk about it. I did not want to tell anyone anything about it. I didn't want to discuss it. I just held it in. I can take care of this. I can work it out myself. I didn't want to go to support groups. And I just had my family and a few very close friends. In fact, my coworkers didn't know anything about it. And my doctor says, you've got to tell them because you're working. So I thought, well, this playwright should be, and this will help me, because the second time I was diagnosed with it, I was better. I could talk about it, and I said, this will help me to get everything out. So we started going up to the sessions, and it was, I think, 6 weeks she wanted us to come every Saturday and to be committed. So once I went up there and I listened to them talking, I'm thinking, I can't hardly write a letter. How am I going to write a play? And she says, just write down your thoughts. What do you think a play is? I think, what is a play? That's what I wrote. And after we started talking about it and putting our thoughts together and what we had experienced, then the light bulb came on. Write about how you felt, what you went through, how your family helped you. When you started talking about it, how your friends and coworkers started to work with you. And that's what got me started. And I started to make little notes and think everything that everyone did for me, how they helped, how everybody came together. Some bought meals, and I started putting all that down.
Oh, great, great. So how did it get to the Broadway? Where does that come in?
That was a
Was it actually
surprise.
performed on Broadway?
It was performed at the Playhouse, the Cleveland
Okay,
Playhouse.
all right.
That was really a surprise because I had no idea it would go this far. But Clarence Spivey,
Terrence
Spivey, he came in, Spivey,
Yes.
he came in to listen to us because we had, like Denise said, we had listened to read each other's,
Okay.
critiqued each other's play. And he came in and listened to us, and he thought it was pretty good. And my play was really about my brother and sister, and it talked about how those two siblings, that's why sibling rivalry, did not get along growing as adults.
Okay.
Because he's 14 years older than my sister. I'm the middle child. And how this disease brought them together and made peace as adults with something that happened they don't even remember as a kid, and how they came together and to work with me to get me through this and to give me the support that I needed.
A wonderful story.
I just wanted to add that originally the pieces were going to become plays. That was the original plan, and they were read. There's something called staged readings in theater.
Right.
So they were actually a stage reading at the Fusion Fest at the Cleveland Playhouse first. And then it was a huge success. Ruby Dee came in for it to support us and to read one of the plays. And then Terrence Spivey also had, because he was a part of the Fusion Fest, he wanted to produce the shows in a full production. So last October, Caribou actually put From Breast Cancer to Broadway on their season.
Oh.
So we had a 4-week run. And then Bridget called and she said, we're going to New York. So the play went to Off-Broadway. It was at a theater called Cherry Lane Theater, and it went to Off-Broadway. We were all invited. We all went. Again, Ruby Dee joined us. We had other people who joined us from Broadway, actors and actresses from Broadway read the plays. Faison, the dancer, he came, George Faison. And we had 3 weeks of production on Off-Broadway. That was this summer.
So what's next?
Well,
Where is it going now? I mean, we're not going to stop here.
No, we are actually we call ourselves the Bosom Buddies. There's 11 of us, and we meet every Saturday. So once a month. So when we meet, we talk about future projects.
Okay.
So it's possible that it's going to go out west. We've talked about it going to Atlanta. We've talked about going to Pittsburgh. The whole idea is that we make people aware of what we go through as African American women when we're diagnosed with breast cancer. There's so many types. I had an aggressive type, and it's called HER2, which means I had a double cell. So it was almost as if the cells talked to each other, which meant they could spread more rapidly. So in each piece, we talk about the uniqueness of the disease and the uniqueness of the individuals, and your treatment can also be unique. So it is very important that we get the word out to African American women that they must get their mammograms done. They must follow up their treatments and things like that.
Now, where can folks get in touch with you if they'd like more information about the project or your plays in particular? How can folks get in touch with you?
Well, we're on Facebook, a lot of us right now, and we're in the process of putting a website together. And right now, a lot of people kind of keep up with us through Facebook because we have a lot of activities that we do. And as I say, we're called the Bosom Buddies. So that's where you can kind of keep up with our progress and how this is going.
And Denise and Rose, I want to thank you both for joining us this evening. I wish we had a lot more time to talk about your project, but the restrictions of television require us to wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
And we are not quite finished, are we, Karen?
No, we're not.
Not quite yet. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Wake Up and Live with the Arts.
This is from my play today. Mom says, I think you should go to the gathering place. No thanks. I don't do support groups. 3 months later, I'm there, lost and confused. There are tissues everywhere. Lots and lots and lots of tears. My thoughts go back home. Back home, there is a man. He's silent. A lot. Not sure what to say, think, or do. My baby daughter, well, she's very loud, and she has on an iPod, and she says, "Mom, I love you, Mom, and I'm going to go to the doctor's. I'm going to ask a lot of questions." I love you, Mom, and I love my iPod, too. My other daughter is quite the opposite. She's quiet, and she doesn't talk a lot, and she doesn't ask questions. But she says to me, "Mom, you're not going to die, Mom. My friend, he had cancer. He lost all of his hair, but he lived. I love you, Mom." Today.